The first lie I ever told my children was that their father left us. The last lie I'll ever tell is that I've forgiven him. At 72, with knuckles swollen by arthritis and a heart heavy with the secrets of a lifetime, I sit at the head of a table groaning with food and laughter, a matriarch built on a foundation of deceit. My son, Michael, raises a glass of champagne, his face flushed with love and pride. He looks so much like his father it sometimes steals my breath, that same crinkle beside the eyes, the stubborn set of his jaw. To my mother, Eleanor, he begins, his voice thick with emotion that feels both genuine and terribly misplaced. The strongest woman I know. When Dad walked out, leaving her with 2 small kids and nothing but debt, she didn't just survive. She thrived. She raised us, she protected us, and she taught us everything about love and sacrifice. To you, Mom, the woman who did it all alone. The room erupts in applause. My grandchildren cheer, my daughter Sarah sniffles into a napkin, and I feel the familiar, icy dread coiling in my stomach. The praise is a poison I've been drinking for 50 years, and I fear the antidote would kill me now. Across the table, my sister Martha catches my eye. Her smile is tight, a painted-on facade I know all too well. In her gaze, I see the truth, the one we buried together in the cold, hard ground of our past. She gives a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of her head, a silent warning etched in the lines around her mouth. Don't you dare. But today, the weight of the applause feels less like a tribute and more like the first shovel of dirt on a coffin. My coffin, comment on which city you're watching from and subscribe to the channel because I guarantee there's more to this story than meets the eye. The party for my granddaughter Lily's engagement is supposed to be a happy occasion. A celebration of new beginnings for me. It feels like an ending. The carefully constructed walls of my life are beginning to crumble. Hairline fractures spreading with every round of laughter. Every congratulatory touch. The ghost I've kept chained in the cellar of my memory is rattling its locks. Michael's toast has unlocked it. He sees me as a saint. A martyr who sacrificed her own happiness for her children. He doesn't understand that my sainthood is a sin. And my sacrifice was not my own to make, it was Richard's. After the toast, people drift over to hug me, to squeeze my arm and tell me what a wonderful job I did. You're an inspiration, Eleanor, says a cousin whose own marriage is a quiet disaster. I don't know how you managed, adds a neighbor who saw me mowing the lawn in the dark after a 16-hour workday. Each word is a small, sharp stone. And I'm slowly being buried under their weight. I smile, I nod, I accept their praise because it's the role I've played for 5 decades, the abandoned wife, the resilient mother. It's a comfortable costume, but the fabric has grown so thin I can feel the cold truth against my skin, raising goosebumps that have nothing to do with the draft from the window. I escape to the quiet of the back porch, the chilly autumn air a welcome shock to my system. The fairy lights strung along the railing blur as my eyes well up. I'm not crying from joy or pride. I'm crying from the sheer, bone-deep exhaustion of it all. The door creaks open behind me. It's Martha, her face etched with a familiar mixture of concern and command. She's 2 years older than me, and has always acted like she was a decade wiser, the self-appointed general in our family's quiet wars. You're being foolish, Ellie, she says, her voice a low hiss. She pulls the door shut behind her, wrapping her cardigan tighter as if to ward off more than just the cold. Don't let Michael's words get to you. He means well. He's celebrating a lie. Martha. Our lie. My voice is a ragged whisper, lost in the sound of the wind rustling the dead leaves on the lawn. It's a story that was necessary, she snaps back, her eyes darting toward the glass door to make sure no one can hear. It gave you and the children a clean slate. It gave you a life. Would you rather he knew the truth? Do you think that would be better for him? For any of us? Think of what it would do to Dad's memory. The thread hangs in the air between us, heavy and suffocating. Martha was there. She was my rock, my co-conspirator. Our parents are long gone, but she remains the fierce guardian of our family's narrative. A narrative that painted Richard as a villain and me as his victim. But as I look at the laughing faces inside, at the family I built, a terrible question echoes in my mind. Who was the real villain in this story? I'm no longer sure I know the answer. The first few years with Richard were like living in a sunbeam. I remember the day he proposed, not with a ring, but with a scruffy, one-eared puppy he'd found abandoned on the side of the road. He needs a home, Ellie, he'd said, his blue eyes so earnest and bright they hurt to look at. And so do I, with you. He was a dreamer, a man who saw potential in everything. From a stray dog to a rundown house, he swore we could make beautiful together. And we did. He was a carpenter, and his hands, though rough and calloused, could create magic. He built the cribs our children slept in, sturdy and smooth as silk. He built the kitchen table we ate at, the bookshelves that held our stories. When Michael was born, Richard held him up to the light as if he were a diamond, his big, work-worn hands impossibly gentle. "Look at him, Ellie," he'd whispered, his voice cracking. "He's perfect." We made something perfect. He wasn't a man who would just walk away from that. He was a man who would have burned down the world to protect it. That was the Richard I knew, the one I buried alive. The trouble started subtly, like a change in the weather. A big construction project he was counting on fell through, then another. The phone stopped ringing. The optimism in his eyes began to dim, replaced by a flicker of fear I'd never seen before. My father, a man who measured worth in dollars and cents, saw Richard's struggle not as a temporary setback, but as a permanent character flaw. "The man has no ambition," he'd say to me over our Sunday dinners, his voice a low rumble just loud enough for Richard in the other room to hear. "A real man provides. He doesn't wait for work to fall in his lap." My father, Arthur, was a self-made man who owned the largest hardware supply company in 3 counties. He was proud, domineering, and his love often felt conditional, a prize to be earned through compliance. He offered Richard a job, a pity job, working in the warehouse, loading trucks. It was a fraction of what Richard could make as a skilled carpenter, and they both knew it was an insult disguised as charity. Richard, with his own stubborn pride, refused. "I'm not his charity case, Ellie," he told me that night, his jaw tight. "I'll find something. I promise." That refusal was the declaration of war. In my father's eyes, Richard hadn't just turned down a job. He had rejected him. He had rejected our family's way of life. The battle lines were drawn, and I, fool that I was standing right in the middle, not realizing I was the territory they were fighting over. Back at the party, the cake is being cut. Lily, my granddaughter, radiant in a white dress, brings a slice over to me on a delicate porcelain plate. "Grandma? Are you okay? You seem a little sad." Her innocent concern is a dagger to my heart. I force a smile that feels like cracking plaster. "Just emotional, sweetheart. Seeing you so happy." She believes me, of course. Why wouldn't she? I'm the strong, unflappable matriarch. Later, as the party winds down and guests begin to leave, Michael approaches me, his eyes shining with a new, terrible idea. "Mom, I was clearing out some old stuff in the attic last week, and I found something." "A box. It's full of Dad's things. Some books, old tools, a few papers." "I never knew you kept any of it." The air leaves my lungs in a silent whoosh. My hands, resting in my lap, suddenly feel cold and numb. "It's just junk, Michael. I should have thrown it out years ago." "No, it's not junk," he insists, his voice gentle, which is somehow worse than an accusation. "It's history. Our history. I was thinking, maybe we could go through it together. You and me and Sarah. Maybe it would help. Give us some closure. Help us understand why he did what he did." I feel a wave of nausea. Closure. He uses that word as if it's a neat little bow to tie on top of a lifetime of pain. He doesn't know that box is not a place for closure. It's a tomb. And he wants to pry the lid off. "I don't think that's a good idea," I say, my voice sharper than I intend. Michael's face falls. He looks wounded, like a little boy whose mother just refused a clumsy, heartfelt gift. "Why not?" "Mom, we're not kids anymore. We can handle it. Don't you think it's time we faced it?" He thinks the thing we have to face is his father's abandonment. He has no idea that the real monster is not the man who left, but the reasons he was forced away. The box doesn't hold the secrets of a runaway father. It holds the evidence of a family conspiracy, and I am the star witness. I look at my son's trusting face, his earnest plea, and I know I am trapped. I can't tell him no without revealing that there is something to hide. So I nod, a slow, grim surrender. "All right, Michael. We'll look at the box." A few days later, the 3 of us are in my dusty, dimly lit attic. Sunlight streams through the single grimy window, illuminating dancing dust motes. The air is thick with the smell of old paper, cedar, and time itself. Michael hefts a worn cardboard box onto an old trunk. On the side, in my fading handwriting, is one word: Richard. Sarah, ever the sensitive one, places a hand on my arm. "Are you sure you're up for this, Mom?" I'm not, but I nod anyway. The performance must go on. Michael opens the flaps. The first thing he pulls out is a worn copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. Richard's favorite. He used to read it to me, his voice low and soothing. Michael opens the cover and finds an inscription in his father's bold, clear hand: "To my Ellie. May we always stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. All my love, R." Michael reads it aloud, and his expression sours. "A bit hypocritical, don't you think?" he mutters, tossing the book aside with a thud that echoes in the quiet attic. I flinch, but say nothing. Next, he pulls out a small, tarnished silver locket. He fumbles with the clasp and opens it. Inside are two tiny, faded pictures: a baby Michael and a baby Sarah. My throat tightens. This was the locket he always wore, tucked under his shirt. The one he was wearing the last night I saw him. Why was it in this box? He wouldn't have left it behind willingly. It felt as much a part of him as his hands. Then Sarah finds the letters. A small bundle of them, tied with a faded blue ribbon. They are from him to me, from the 2 years we dated before we got married. They are filled with youthful passion, with dreams and plans for the future. As Sarah reads snippets aloud, her voice soft with a sort of tragic wonder, I am transported back. I remember the boy who wrote them, the boy with sawdust in his hair and a smile that could light up a room. He seemed to love you so much. Mom, Sarah says, a confused frown on her face. It just doesn't make sense. People change, honey, I say, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. It was my family that changed things. They began to suffocate him. My father would make casual remarks about his struggles. My 2 brothers, both successful in their own right, would treat him with a polite condescension that was worse than open hostility. They saw him as a weak link in our strong family chain. They started planting seeds of doubt in my mind, little whispers of poison. He's dragging you down, Ellie, my mother would say gently while we were shelling peas on the porch. You have 2 children to think of. Pride doesn't put food on the table. The kids are starting to notice the tension. My father would boom, storming through the house. It's not a healthy environment for them. They were chipping away at my faith in him, and worse, at his faith in himself. I remember one evening he came home, his shoulders slumped in defeat after another fruitless day of looking for work. My father and brothers were there. They had dropped by to see me. It was an ambush. Richard, my father started, his tone oozing false concern. We need to talk. Man to man. This situation. It's not sustainable. Eleanor and the children deserve stability. I remember watching from the kitchen doorway, my hands frozen on the dish towel I was holding. They took him into the living room, a pack of wolves circling their prey. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard phrases. Best for everyone. A fresh start. And then, the most chilling of all, from my brother. We'll make sure you're taken care of. They were trying to buy him off. To pay him to leave his own life. The humiliation on Richard's face when he walked out of that room. It seared into my memory. He looked at me, his eyes pleading for me to say something, to defend him, to choose him. And I just stood there, paralyzed by fear and doubt, a dish towel clutched in my hand like a shield that could offer no protection at all. Back in the attic, Michael has reached the bottom of the box. Under a folded wool sweater that still faintly smells of Richard, there is a large manila envelope. Michael pulls it out. It's thick. Inside are official-looking documents. He scans the first page, his brow furrowing in confusion. What is this? He says, holding it out. It looks like a business proposal. Richard's custom carpentry. There are sketches, cost projections, letters of interest from potential clients. He pulls out more papers. A signed lease agreement for a small workshop downtown. A bank statement showing a modest business loan, approved. The date on all the documents is from the final week before he left. I don't understand, Michael says, his voice shaking slightly. This looks like he was starting a business. He was about to get back on his feet. Why would he leave right when things were about to turn around? My heart is hammering against my ribs. I had never seen these papers. He had never told me. He must have been planning to surprise me, to prove to me and to everyone that he could succeed on his own terms. And my family, they must have known. This new hope was a threat to their plan. They had to act fast. They had to crush him before he could rise. Subscribe now, you won't believe the twist that's coming. The discovery of the business plans changes the energy in the attic. The air, once just dusty and nostalgic, is now charged with a tense, uncomfortable electricity. Michael's lifelong narrative of a deadbeat father is flickering like a faulty light bulb. Sarah is looking at me, her eyes full of questions I can't answer. "He never told you about this, Mom?" she asks softly. "No," I whisper, the word feeling small and inadequate. He kept his struggles to himself. Another lie, another brick in the wall that is starting to feel like my own tomb. Michael keeps digging through the envelope, his movements now frantic, almost desperate. He pulls out a smaller, sealed envelope tucked at the very back. It's addressed to me in Richard's familiar, looping script. For my Ellie. My breath catches. I have no memory of this letter, Mom. Michael holds it out to me. His hand trembling, my fingers feel like clumsy sausages as I take it. The paper is old and brittle for 50 years. This letter has been sitting here, a silent testament to a truth I chose to ignore. My heart pounds a frantic rhythm against my ribs. A drumbeat of doom. I tear it open. My dearest Ellie, if you are reading this, it means I failed not as a carpenter or a provider, but I failed to make you see your family as a fortress, my love. And they have pulled up the drawbridge. They have given me an ultimatum. It's not about money, it's about you. They think I am a stain on their perfect family portrait. They have told me that if I stay, they will make my life impossible. And by extension, yours and our children's. They see a future for you without me. A safe, predictable future under their control. And I think a part of you sees it too, the fear in your eyes when you look at me. It's a blade in my heart. Ellie, so I am giving you the choice they demand. We can walk away from them tonight. We can take the kids and what little we have and start over. Just the four of us. It will be hard. Harder than anything we've ever known. Or I can walk away alone. I will disappear, and they will swoop in and give you the life they believe you deserve. You will be safe, the children will be provided for, they will never have to know the struggle. This is not what I want. What I want is to fight for you, for us, but I cannot fight you, Ellie. I will not make you choose between the man you love and the family you need. The choice must be yours. I'll be at the old oak tree by the creek at midnight if you come. We leave together. If you don't, I will understand. I will go. And I will never come back no matter what you choose. Know that I am doing this because I love you more than my own life. I will love you until my last breath. Yours always, Richard. The attic spins. I clutch the letter, the paper crinkling in my white-knuckled grip. The memory, so long and brutally repressed, comes flooding back. The last night. He had come to me after the children were asleep. His face was pale, his eyes hollowed out. He laid out the choice, just as he had in the letter. He begged me to have faith in him, in us. We can do this, Ellie. We just have to be a team. But my family's poison had done its work. I was terrified. All I could see was the uncertainty, the poverty, the shame. My father's promises of security and stability felt like a warm, safe harbor in a raging storm. Richard's plea for faith felt like a leaky lifeboat in the middle of the ocean. I can't, I had whispered, tears streaming down my face. The children. I can't risk it. The light in his eyes died. It was a physical thing, like a switch being flipped off, plunging a room into darkness. He didn't argue. He didn't rage. He just looked at me with a profound, bottomless sorrow that will haunt me until the day I die. He nodded once. Okay, Ellie, he said, his voice devoid of all emotion. Okay. He kissed the top of my head, a phantom touch I can still feel. Be happy. And then he was gone. I didn't go to the oak tree. I went to my bed and I cried until the sun came up. The next morning, I told the children their father was gone. My family swooped in, just as he said they would. They paid off our debts. They set me up in a new, smaller house. They told everyone the story of the feckless husband who couldn't handle the pressure and ran away. And I let them. I became a partner in the crime. Mom? Michael's voice cuts through the fog of my memory. He and Sarah are staring at me, their faces a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. They have read the letter over my shoulder. He He didn't leave us, Michael stammers, his face ashen. He gave you a choice. The accusation in his voice is a physical blow. All the years of his anger, his resentment toward his father, are now shifting, turning, and looking for a new target. And I am standing right in its path. Before I can respond, Sarah, who had been quietly looking in the now empty box, lets out a small gasp. Wait, she says, her voice trembling. There's a false bottom. She fumbles with the cardboard and pulls up a flap. Beneath it lies a single, pristine white envelope. It is not addressed in Richard's hand. The writing is sharp, angular, and terrifyingly familiar. It is my father's handwriting. It is addressed simply to Eleanor. My blood runs cold. This is impossible. My father has been dead for 15 years. He was a man who took his secrets to the grave. Or so I thought. What is it? Michael demands, his voice raw. Martha's warning from the party echoes in my head. Some things are better left buried. She must have known about this. She must have helped my father hide it. Don't, Mom, Sarah says, seeing the look on my face. You don't have to open it, but it's too late. The past is no longer buried. It is here in this attic, demanding a reckoning. I have to know. I have to know what other lies my life has been built upon. My shaking fingers break the seal. The letter inside is dated a week before my father's death. His handwriting is spidery, weakened by illness, but the force of his will is still there on the page. My dearest Eleanor, I write this from my deathbed, a place where a man has little left but his regrets and my greatest regret. My daughter, concerns you and Richard. I am not writing to ask for your forgiveness, for I do not deserve it. I am writing to give you the truth, because you have lived under the weight of a half-truth for far too long. And that burden was placed there by me. Richard did not leave you, not truly. When I realized he was on the verge of succeeding with his new business, I knew I was about to lose you. You would have followed that man into poverty, and I could not allow it. My pride could not allow it, so my sons and I did something unforgivable. We used our connections to frame him. We manufactured evidence that he had been embezzling funds from a supplier, a man who owed me a great favor. We made it airtight. We presented Richard with the evidence and an ultimatum. It was not the one he told you about. We told him he could either disappear and let his family believe he was a coward who ran away, or he could face a trial, be convicted, and go to prison for a crime he did not commit. We told him the shame of a convicted father would ruin his children's lives far more than the story of an absent one. He was trapped to protect you, to protect Michael and Sarah from the poison of a public scandal and a jailed father. He chose to become the villain. He sacrificed his name, his life, his very existence, so that you could all be safe. He never took a penny from us. He walked away with nothing. It was the price of his love for you. I did it because I believed I was protecting you, saving you from a life of struggle. I see now that I did not save you. I put you in a cage, a comfortable cage, but a cage nonetheless. I stole your husband from you and your children's father from them. It is a sin for which I know I will answer to God. I only hope that knowing the full truth will, in some small way, set you free. I am sorry, Eleanor, for everything. Your loving father, Arthur. The letter slips from my fingers. A keening sound fills the attic, a raw, animal noise of absolute agony. It takes me a moment to realize it is coming from me. The floor rushes up to meet me as my legs give out. I don't faint. I wish I could. I am crushingly, horrifyingly awake. My life is a sham, a 50-year lie. I was not the abandoned wife. I was not the woman who made a difficult choice. I was the pawn in a monstrous game. My husband, the man I let my children believe was a coward, was a hero. He was a martyr. He faced an impossible choice, his freedom or his family's honor. And he chose them. He chose us. He chose me. And all these years, I have hated him for it. I have let my children hate him for it. The love my father claimed to have for me wasn't love. It was ownership. It was control. He didn't save me. He stole my life. He ripped out its heart and replaced it with a hollow, gilded substitute. And my part in it, my weakness, my fear, my failure to trust the man I loved, that was the key that locked the cage door. Mom, Mom! Michael and Sarah are kneeling beside me, their faces pale with shock. Michael is holding his father's letter in one hand and my father's in the other. He is looking at them as if they are alien artifacts, rewriting the entire history of his world. The pure, righteous anger he held for his father for 50 years has nowhere to go. It is curdling into a horrified confusion. Grandpa did this, he whispers, his voice breaking. He did this to him? To us? I can only nod, choking on a sob that feels like it's tearing my soul apart. I look at my son, and for the first time, I see not just my child, but Richard's child. I see the man he could have known, the father he was robbed of. And I see my own complicity written all over his shattered expression. The healing I thought I needed was from a simple wound of abandonment, but this is not a wound. This is an amputation. And I have been feeling the phantom limb for 50 years. The weeks that follow are a blur of fractured conversations and heavy silence. The beautiful family portrait Michael toasted at the engagement party has been slashed to ribbons. Michael is consumed by a new kind of fury, a righteous rage directed at the memory of his grandfather and, in his quieter, more painful moments, at me. He has hired a private investigator, a desperate, futile attempt to find some trace of a man who was professionally erased half a century ago. Sarah tries to be the peacemaker, but she too is adrift. Her gentle nature is struggling to comprehend the sheer, calculated cruelty of what her grandfather did. She looks at me with pity, but there is a new distance in her eyes. She is the daughter of a victim, but the identity of the perpetrator has changed. My sister Martha came over once. She stood in my kitchen, wringing her hands, and said, "I wanted to tell you, Ellie, so many times, but Dad made me promise. He said the truth would destroy you." The lie destroyed me. "Martha," I told her, my voice flat and lifeless. "It just took 50 years for me to die." She had no answer to that. I spend my days in this house, this quiet, comfortable prison my father bought for me. The objects around me, once symbols of my survival, now feel like props in a tragic play. Every photograph is a lie. Every memory is tainted. I was never healing from Richard leaving me. I was rotting from the inside out with a truth I wasn't even conscious of. Today, I sit at the kitchen table Richard built, its surface scarred with the history of homework, art projects, and family dinners. It is the most honest thing in this house. I pull out a pen and a fresh sheet of paper. There is one last story I have to tell, not for a video or for an audience, but for my children. My dearest Michael and Sarah, there are no words to undo 50 years of a lie saying I am sorry is not enough the woman you thought I was. The strong, single mother who overcame adversity never really existed. She was a character, created out of my fear and your grandfather's monstrous pride. The truth is, I was a coward. I was too afraid to have faith in your father. And my cowardice gave my family the opening they needed to destroy him. Your father was the strong one. He was the brave one. He faced an evil choice, and he chose to save you. Even if it meant losing you, he absorbed all the world's blame so that your childhoods could be blameless. The sacrifice was not mine. It was his, entirely his, and my greatest sin was letting you believe otherwise. I don't know if we can ever repair what is broken between us. What was broken in us before we even knew it, but I cannot spend another day of my life hiding from the truth. I loved your father. I failed him. And I have been paying for it every day since. I sign the letter and leave it on the table. Then I walk over to the mantelpiece and pick up the one small, faded photograph I kept of him, hidden at the back of a photo album. It was taken on our wedding day. He is looking at me, his face alight with so much love, so much hope for the first time in 50 years. I look at his face, and I don't feel the sting of abandonment. I feel the crushing weight of his sacrifice. I see the hero, not the villain. The healing isn't over. It has just begun. It is the painful, terrifying, and necessary process of healing from the right wound. I am not the woman who was left behind. I am the woman who is finally, after a lifetime, learning the true cost of love. Comment: which part of the story left you speechless?